been back a few weeks now, right?
Yeah.
He's been back to work.
I'm glad he got out.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, there he is.
How's it going?
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good evening.
Good. How's it going over here, Hannah? Good. Good evening, community. Thank you very much for joining us either here in person or online. I do want to just quickly announce that we do have translation services available here if you are in need of those. I'm sorry, I don't have the beautiful Spanish language to say that, as Vice President Diaz always does, but it is available if that is needed here in person. So we're going to go ahead and start with we'll call this meeting to order. Sorry, it is 5:34. We'll do a roll call quickly. I'll start with myself. Board Member Finlay here. Board Member Olguin.
Here.
Board Member Hasso.
Here.
Board Member Reyes.
Here.
Excellent. And Board Member Diaz is not here with us this evening. Next, we'll go to the flag salute, and I would like to go ahead and do that. So please stand and place your right hand over your heart. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the adoption of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Motion by Board Member Reyes, second by Board Member Holguin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes 4-0. Do we have any requests to address the board? No request to address the board. Thank you very much, Mercedes. All right, we can now go ahead and move on to the interview portion of this meeting. So just, I guess, so the public knows what we are going to be doing here this evening is interviewing a total of 5 superintendent search firms. And we have allocated 30 minutes to each firm. And in that 30 minutes, they'll be able to present to us, and then we will be allowed to ask questions. The board has been provided with questions that they can ask. If those questions were answered during the presentation and/or in the packet that was given to us last week, then you don't need to ask that question necessarily, but if you want some clarification, please feel free to ask. But we don't have any set or required questions that we must ask, but those questions were provided to sort of guide us as we make this decision. So after the interviews are concluded, then we'll move on to the point in time when we will actually select a firm. So I guess we can go ahead and move on to the interview portion of the meeting then. Dr. Hillman.
Thank you, Dr. Finley. At this time, we'll start with the Casca Group, and I'll let the representative introduce himself. Good evening, sir. You have 30 minutes with us.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having our firm. I do want to let you know that my partner, Joel Shapiro, had knee surgery on Monday, and the doctor forbade him from putting any weight on it, so I'm running solo tonight. And I can use this, right? Okay. We're the Casca Group. In the 20-some-odd years since Dr. Casca founded it, we've spent a lot of time and perfecting as best we can our process for selecting superintendents. So I'll be sharing that with you today, and hopefully these will be the highlights of the proposal we sent you. So we like to say that Casca, the TCG stands for Trust, Commitment, and Guidance, and those are 3 pillars of our search. We want to make sure that you trust the work that we're doing, and that when we're out there maybe conducting forums, be the face of the board as you seek a new leader for your district. We are completely committed, as I will share with you later. Joel and I will not be doing any other searches during the time if we're selected as your search firm. That's our company policy. When we're assigned, when we get a search, we only do 1 search at a time. We never do multiple searches. And guidance, we try to provide you with the right feedback, information, homework, and background checks on everything, on everyone, so that you can make the right decision or best decision you can make in seeking your next leader. I do want to spend a little time on this because as I was going through your instructional program, I was really impressed and just really tickled me to see how many options you have for your families in your district. I mean, you've got basically everything that could be offered. You've got a early college program, you've got IB, you've got a STEM, you've got the School of the Arts, and I just thought, wow, what a great way to set up your district. Every school has kind of a signature program they can use to discuss and share with families what they're about and how they go about educating the child and the choices you gave your families. You know, it wouldn't matter which, your kids are all different, right? But some kids would pick one program and some kids would pick another. That's just, I thought, a really wonderful way to provide options for families. And I was really impressed with the City of Hope STEM partnership. I thought that was high end and really next level information. And I'm a big fan of Project Lead the Way. We had it in our district for several years, and I think it's a great way for kids to learn how to get the skills to move into a career right after high school or right after college. Joel is my partner, and Joel was in education for 42 years. He was superintendent of South Pass. He was an assistant soup in Burbank, and he served as elementary and secondary principal. And along the way, he's done some professorships at Occidental and CSUN. And Joel enjoys mostly the workshops that he does with the governance team after the search is awarded to us. We provide a free governance team training to help the board and the new leader get on the same page right away. And that's something he really likes to specialize in. I'm retired from Newport Mesa. I did serve a couple years as the Lenox School District Superintendent. My roots are in secondary. I was a middle school and high school principal, and also an assistant soup for education in Anaheim Union. And really, my focus was always to make sure we were educating the whole child. You know, kids learn different things in different curriculums, okay? Even the word frequency is different in science than it is in math or even in music. But kids need to know there's multiple meanings for those words. You know, I always thought they had to have a music background, they had to have access to athletics, they had to have access to any of the extracurricular programs that we had, like Young Business Leaders of America and so forth. So that's where I spent most of my time. I wanted to give our kids opportunities. To me, providing kids opportunities was the key. And why choose us? And first of all, I think you need to know that we have a very respectable percentage of stability when we place a superintendent. 95% of our placements over the 20-plus so years have stayed for a minimum of 5 years, and many for more than that. We also are selective in the districts we choose to work with. Not that we don't accept invitations from many districts, but we like to choose districts that demonstrate stability and have cohesiveness. You know, it's something that we really strive ourselves in finding the right match for districts and having the right match for the soups as well. We've also done, recently in the last 2-3 years, we've done the Monrovia search, the Temple City search, the Rosemead search, House Path, and Bonita searches in the San Gabriel Valley. So we kind of have been hanging around your neighborhood for a while. Our focus is that we tailor the process to your needs, okay? You have our basic proposal, but there's a lot of room to make modifications and changes and alterations to the direction we go. Sometimes there's information you learn and the board may want to choose a different little bit of direction this way. Other times, you know, most of it is, have you talked to this group of people? We'd like you to have this group. Oh, we didn't have you talk to the mayor. We'd like to have you talk to the mayor. So we tailor it to what your needs are. I know I have a timeline in the proposal, but I guarantee you that's the first thing, if we were to get the search, we'd be talking about, because maybe the timeline, which is our best guess, isn't what you're hoping for, okay? And we also believe in full disclosure. We do not hide anything from you. We will conduct research and background checks on every applicant. And we will provide you with a report of every applicant, and we will provide you the application of every applicant for you to review. And it's that report that we can share with you things that we find out that maybe isn't so clear in the application process, so that you're getting full information about each applicant. Our services include pre-recruitment. Again, we customize this to you. Our first meeting with the board is to discuss your recruitment and what you're looking for and what you believe the skills, the knowledge, and the experience has to be in the person you want to hire. And that gives us an opportunity to put together the brochure for you, the brochure that goes out throughout the state and through our partners at the National Association of School Superintendents. So we will customize the brochure. Our first initial assessment is with you, but we'll also do as many community assessments as you want as well, the forums, as I mentioned before. We go out with 3 questions, and we ask everybody to give you feedback, because as we explain it to them, it's important for you to hear from the community what they're also looking for. And sometimes when we come back with that information, the board says, oh, we didn't think about that. Maybe we want to look at that. So it's really an organic process. So we do the stakeholder meetings in person, but we also do them online so that everybody can have access, and we do them in the languages that you need. for your district. And as I said before, we review the assessment of all the applicants with you, and then work with you to identify the applicants you would like to interview after all of the all the research has been done on each of the applicants. And we do put out like I said, the brochure, but we also do an electronic brochure that we send out to all districts and across our partners at the National Association of School Superintendents. We advertise and promote. We basically go through all of the traditional ones. We'll go through the AXA advertisement, but our big one is we put our network together, and we make sure that all our superintendent colleagues across California are sending out information and contacting local superintendents to see if they're interested, or if they have budding superintendents who might be interested in applying. So it's a little bit of digital, a little bit of advertising in certain markets, and then a little bit of personal outreach with our network. And we maintain the files. We set them up for you so that at some point you will be able to access all the files and see every application and see and review it prior to your selection of who you want to interview. We do all the communications with the applicants so they don't communicate with you, and so that everything is clean, and we keep everything highly confidential. We do not share the names, and we make sure we were protecting all of the applicants. You never know, they may not want their information to go out yet, or maybe they've only told the board president. So it's really important to keep the applications as confidential as possible. And I've covered most of this. One thing I didn't mention is that we do take our partners, and we also have them help us with the ranking of the applicants that you have. So it's not just Joel and me thinking who's matches your profile best. We actually bring 3 or 4 of our partners in to second guess us and consider how we might move one person up or move one person down. But we do that as a group to make sure that we're not exhibiting any bias towards anyone. We do facilitate at the end of this process the interview process for you. We'll be there to welcome candidates in and introduce them to you and walk them out. We're also there to help you process the day. The 2 days, basically what it takes. There's a first interview day, and then there's the finalist. And to help you process and rank order, or however you want to identify who the strongest candidates are and who you really want to bring in for the final interview. We usually recommend 7, 8 for the big day, and then hopefully 3 for the final. But again, that's negotiable if the board wants to do other things. And we do have a series of questions which you can choose from to use for the application. We do ask that whatever questions you select, we give to each candidate, so each candidate gets the same questions. We can, upon your request, provide you with a compensation study so that you can see what the other superintendents are earning or what their contracts are like as far in your local area, so that you're competitive, because I'm sure that you want to make sure you hire someone and that you retain them as well. So we can do that for you. And then we'll help you again with the final day of ranking who you think is the best candidate. And sometimes we'll even add another day if the board would like to see 2 candidates one more time. So we're very flexible, and we really try to make this as much your search than anything, and help you find the person that you want to have, that you believe will be the best leader for you as the board and for your district and your students and your families. And then we do pay for an in-depth professional background check on the finalist. So while we do our homework, we're not professionals, so we do hire an investigator to do a final background check. If you wish to visit a district, not all districts do a visit to where the employee is currently working, but we can arrange that if a site visit is something you want. We do communicate with all the applicants. You don't have to worry about telling someone whether they made it or not. We take care of all those communications, and we do it right away so that nobody's out there wondering what happened. We can, if you need help in the development of your contract with the employee, Most districts choose to do that with their attorney, but we can also assist in that process. And then we will help provide the publications for your announcement and distribution of who you've selected in the end. One of the things that's important is that when we sit with the governance team, we like to talk a little bit about the evaluation of the superintendent. Our baseline as the COSCA group is evaluations are to help build the capacity of your employees. If you can help your employees be better employees, you're going to have a better organization. And that's true for superintendents as well. So we can assist with setting some performance objectives. We can assist with developing a format so you know what the objectives are and what goes into what the superintendent will attempt to do, and then come up with a tool that will develop inter-rater reliability. You should all have an idea of what is acceptable, what's satisfactory, and then what is excellent, okay? And you shouldn't be all over the place, because then statistically it's difficult to rate the person. So we can help with that tool as well. And then part of our package is to provide 2 years of mentoring to the superintendent at no cost to you. And we do that. We meet with the superintendent beginning twice monthly in person, and then, of course, always available via phone call to the superintendent. I think one of the things that makes a difference and why we have the longevity we have is because we do provide that support for 2 years. And it's nice to have somebody you can call in right away and ask questions, and Joel and I would be there for the person. This is the proposed timeline, our only option, and we just tried to put something together that we thought was within the time range you would sketched out in the proposal. The pre-recruit is a long session. That takes a while. It takes us time to develop the brochure and send it out, and it's almost about 3 weeks that we do that kind of work. We bring the brochure back to you to make sure it's what you want to send out, and it's not something that we've editorialized or made any changes in, but we want it to be your voice, you're representing you as the board, as to who you're looking for and what skills and knowledge and experience you're looking for. The recruitment is about a month, and I'll tell you that while we start off with a month, I will tell you that the last 2 weeks is when everybody seems to apply. And there's good reason for that. Your best applications come in the last 2 weeks because people are taking their time doing it well. So that's not a surprise to us. It just means we do make a lot of reference calls those last 2 weeks to make sure we're meeting your deadlines. The selection of the candidates is over a 3-day period. We'll come in on a Friday. We'll provide the questions for you. We'll provide you the ranking or the information we have on every applicant. And at that time, you'll select the interviewees you want to meet with, and you will also select the questions you want to use for your interview. And then the last day, hopefully, is your finalist day, and you'll identify the person who's the right fit for you and the right fit for your district. The appointment can take place anywhere between the 20th of October to November 13th. It's all based on when your board meeting is, because you have to do it at an official board meeting. And again, the post-appointment support we provide your superintendent is for up to 2 years. There are no additional costs. Our proposal contains all the costs that we will request from you. You have unlimited consultant time. You will each get Joel's phone number and my phone number and email, and his email, and you can email us and ask us questions anytime. We do ask to work with the board president and one other person in case we have questions on process or procedures. It's not something that the whole board needs to decide, but sometimes just a little bit of help we need on how to move forward on some items. However, if you're going to make any decisions as a board, that would require a closed session and for us to be in that. But unlimited time with the consultants, unlimited meetings with the boards and with the board and stakeholders. We'll do as many stakeholder meetings as you want. When we were in Pomona, I think we saw 3,000 people over 3 weeks. It was actually a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work too. And then ancillary support of all partners. If we need somebody to come in and help us, we call our partners in, especially if we have 2 or 3 forums at one night and we can't be at all of them. We'll pull in one of our partners to help with the 3rd forum. The search is a sole consultant assignment. We're not doing anything else at that time. So we're pretty much tied up for about a 3 to 4 month period and won't be doing anything else. We have a 2-year guarantee. If it doesn't work out, we'll go back and do a search again over 2, okay? And that's for up to 2 years, okay? And I think, if I'm correct, that's only happened twice in the TCG history. So like I said before, we have a really respectable tenure rate for our placements. And if you don't find a candidate, we will do a whole search again at no additional cost to you. And I think one of the things that helps keep our tenure rate so high is we don't come back and cherry pick our placements. We don't come back and try to hire a superintendent for another school, say, hey, here's a bigger school, come right, and they've only been there 1 or 2 years. We don't recruit our superintendents. That's not to say somebody else won't, but we don't. Again, it's an all-inclusive fee. All of the things I've listed here is just a review of all of the services we provide. And then our guarantee, we want to just be very clear. These are our guarantees to you. You're going to make every decision, okay? We will give you full disclosure of all the applicants. We won't not share with you any information or any applications. You will determine the interviews. You will determine who you're interviewing, and you will determine what questions you'll be asking. You all will as a board, make the final choice. And that will be solely your role and your choice, and we will not be influencing that. Now, if you ask us about their backgrounds, we're happy to provide you the information we have. But that does not mean that we are trying to influence you one way or the other. We're just providing clarification and maybe some information that may have not been clear before. Selection will not be recruited, a free repeat search if the suitable candidate's not found, and a free repeat search within 2 years if needed. And I've covered all of that. But those are our guarantees. We stand by those. And, I think one of the things that Dr. Koska made sure is that we're really here to support the board in this search. It's the most important task that you have as board members, and you need to have the most supportive process to make sure that you're finding the person you feel comfortable with, that you feel confident will be the next great leader for your district. We understand this is a big task for you. We understand the importance of this task, and just know that we are committed to doing an excellent job in all facets of the search, and we'd be honored to be your search firm.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate all that information. We do have about 8 to 10 minutes, 10-ish minutes to go ahead and allow the board to ask any questions that they may have. So, board, I will open that up to you all to go ahead and ask some questions.
Dr. Navarro,
Yes, Trustee Reyes.
you mentioned the background check for the finalists. Okay, who's going to cover that cost?
We cover that cost, all included.
Okay, I didn't hear you when you spoke about it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Sometimes, I'm assuming that you understand, that everybody understands. We cover all the costs in our proposal. We don't add anything,
Thank you.
okay?
I think, Dr. Navarro, the estimated time is 2 to 3 months.
Yes, in 3 months is basically the target, but to be honest, sometimes it goes into 4 months. And it can be a lot of things. It could be contract negotiation with the person you select. They may not be able to leave on the dime. You may have to set up a contract negotiation, and you won't be able to appoint till a certain point. But sometimes it's also, to be honest, most of the things that the time that's involved is on the stakeholder meetings. If a district asks us to put in 4 or 5 stakeholders, that's another week. or 2 or 3 can be another week. So there are variables in there that we want to give you latitude to use if you want more information, or if you want to get more input, that we can do. But I'd say 3 months is the target, but don't be surprised if it goes to 4.
Thank you.
Dr. Navarro, so I think most of the board up here, this is not our full-time job, as you
Yes.
probably know. So, I mean, a lot of us are very busy during the day. And so how would we go ahead and communicate with you, meet with your team, all that kind of stuff, while we are simultaneously, working normal lives?
Yes, well, we'll work around your schedules, okay? We can do, obviously, if it's a meeting with the whole board and we do it on Zoom, you have to do the required, a meeting agenda and all of that. But we're available to you via phone calls, and we can set up meetings with you in person whenever you're all available. Honestly, we've done meetings before board meetings. They come as we get an early closed session meeting with you so that it's on the same day you're already here. Sometimes we've been asked to stay after because of the agenda that might be. We've also come in on Saturdays. We've also, come in on student-free days. So we're flexible, and we're available. And like I said, Joel and I will only be doing this search. So our time is really as flexible as it can be. Again, we like to have the board president and one other be our point people on it, so we can have that kind of communication. But we have to be very conscious of your open meeting regulations and follow all those properly so that there is no violation and there is no misinformation going out. But I don't see, in the last 4 years I've been around, I've never had a problem arranging a time with the board to meet about something.
Okay, great. Anyone else have any questions for Dr. Navarro? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you,
and for your
sir.
time.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you for
appreciate
the
it.
opportunity to speak with you. I'm really impressed with your educational programs. Like I said, really tickled me, the opportunities and the programs you're offering. And I hope that we are selected. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. All right. So I guess
We'll just take a minute here. We'll be asking, Mr. Crosby will bring in the next group. That's the McPherson and Jacobson group.
okay.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I know you'll introduce yourself. I just want the board to know this is Dr. Ben Johnson from McPherson and
I was going to say
Jacobson.
LeBron James from McPherson and Jacobson.
Okay, I'll let you go from here. You're
But
on.
the board would
You're
say,
on.
yeah, I'm going to give you, I know you have the presentation, but I want to just give you copies of the packets too. Can I hand these? There should be one for each board member, and then if you select us, we have one for whoever would be potentially our point of contact. Thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Ben Johnson. I'm with McPherson and Jacobson, and I know we have 30 minutes. I'll try to not talk so much and kind of do a high-level overview, but really kind of give you time to ask questions of me and make sure this is productive and not just reading slides, because no one wants anyone to stand in front of you and read slides. That's who you are. You'll hear this from every firm, and I know you know this, that this is the most important thing that boards do. Eh, But like you and like your mission and what drives you, it's really making sure that there's a lot of great candidates out there, but what's the best fit for you? So as we go through this, our lens, it's just like yours, what's best for students and for your community, and making sure that fit is there. And part of that is that fit piece ensures that if there's good governance with you and the superintendent, right? It's not the board and the superintendent, it's the governance team working together with great leadership. Great things happen in the classroom. When that piece is not connected and not functioning at a high level, it just doesn't work. And so we really make sure that on the front end, when you're doing your criteria, and I'll go through this in a little more detail, and on the back end, as part of our search process goals and objectives, that those things are always at the forefront and helping you not just with the search, but continue that ongoing connection. We are a nationwide search firm, but the consultants that would be working on this project are California consultants. One of the things that's unique about McPherson, and one of the reasons why I joined McPherson, is that they try to have a board member and a superintendent on all their searches. There's just a different lens. So I'm a board member. I was in Alvord Unified, which is in Riverside, 23,000 students with declining enrollment. There are roughly about 20 now, and I stopped being on the board for a while, and then one of my colleagues who was on the county asked me to run for the county, so I've been on the county board now for a little over 3 years. So almost 24 years of board governance, and it provides a different lens, right? That any of you can any of you go to the grocery store and be home in 15 minutes? No, because you bump into people all the time, and so your lens and having that perspective, and when we're doing searches by being a board member, I have conversations that my colleagues that are superintendents don't have. And so we have 130 consultants across the country, 25 of those in California. I've done searches as small as 125, not 1,000, but 125 students, and as large as 71,000. So a really good perspective. I think I'm up to 26 searches now, and about 95% of those superintendent candidates that were placed are still in those districts now. And yeah, some of it is luck. It's not all this magic piece, but a lot of it is because we spend a lot of time on criteria, and I'll go through that in just a second. So this will be the consultant team. Aida was not able to make it down today, but we have 2 of us working the search, but we also have a home office that takes care of 90% of the other stuff. Mercedes does not need anything else to do, right? You don't need the consultants calling you, asking you for a lot of work. Yeah, there's some things logistically that we would need her help in, but we have our own back office that takes care of all those pieces as well. Your staff should be focused on you, not on us. So we have a process that we recommend to you, but every search is different. We don't have a cookie cutter process that we take to your district. We spend a lot of time talking about what do you want as a board, what's most important to you, how much. So I'll give you an example. I believe stakeholder, education partner engagement is important, but anyone can say engagement is important from your community, but what does that look like? It looks differently. So some people will do like a town hall meeting here, and you'll have everybody here, and you may do one on another side of your district, and that's fine. But I personally think that every voice is different. So hearing from your teachers, that voice is going to sound different than hearing from your classified. That's going to be different from site administrators. That's going to be different from all of your groups. If you have your DLAG groups, all those voices are unique and different. So we spend a lot of time understanding what are those education partners, how do you want them combined? And then we do as much as we can in person, but being direct, like from an equity and an inclusive perspective. Some people work, imagine that, right? So they can't always do it. So how much can we do virtually? How much can we do in person? And then we also have an online process where people may not feel comfortable talking in public about these issues, but we're able to do it best suit your community's needs. So it's a big part of what we do. It's great information for the board because as you're making your decisions, you're also getting able to hear from your community as well about what's most important. We advertise everywhere like everybody else does. That's not how we really find candidates. We spend a lot of time with you at the beginning, and that engagement with you and understanding from a high level with the survey, potentially what your community is looking for, that helps build and define that criteria. But that's all the board's decision. We make as much of the process transparent and open as possible. The only thing that we are really protective of as candidates before they are your finalists, because their careers are at risk when they interview. And so we want to make sure for us to recruit and identify great talent, they need to feel comfortable that if they don't get the job, right, that their current employer is not going to find that out. So we navigate that really well. We make sure before we bring you anybody, we've done thorough background checks, and we call it going 3 deep. So we not only talk to people they gave us, because they're going to give us people that are going to say wonderful and great things about them, right? But we go 3 deep and we ask, tell us about this candidate, and then tell us somebody that what do you know about that candidate? And then we talk to our network, and as mentioned, because we're a nationwide search firm, we have these national connections, but because of our uniqueness and our consultants in California, we have connections through every association, through different universities and those groups to understand who those candidates are. And of course, we all do all the reference checks and Google searches and those issues. I mentioned our retention rate. 80% of our candidates, this is our corporate, are in place at 5 years. I'm a little boastful, mine's 90%, actually a little, like almost 95%. 60% at 10 years and 40% at 15 years. And those numbers are higher than the average. The average superintendent used to be 3.2 years across the country. That number has dropped to a little over 2.3 years. And so we are pleased with how we're doing, because the last thing you need is for someone to come here, start making things happen, and then 2 years later they're looking for another job. We are so confident in our process and what we do. If your superintendent leaves you for any reason before that 2-year period, we come back and do the search at no cost to the district, because not that it hasn't ever happened, but because we know our process works. We don't hire anybody, so that's your job. With all due respect, we don't have a cadre of candidates that we move from district to district because they're in our program or they're in our network. We have a strong database of candidates, but we have candidates. We don't have a pool of people that we pull from and just move them around once they've been someplace for a couple of years and now they're ready for the next larger district or the next larger district, right? We make sure that we are driving candidates and looking for candidates based on your criteria. So let me go through our 5 phases, because I'm probably pontificating a little too much. But let me just kind of drive you to the big pieces, and I did cover some of these, but really want to make sure you have time for questions. So we talked about criteria, and that's where we sit with the board and talk about what are those criteria you want, who are the educational partners that you want to be included in that process. I know it says in our documentation that includes 1 day of on-site stakeholder meetings. That may not happen, right? It may not be 1 day, it may be 2 days. So whatever it is, we do that, that's included, because in order to do it right, we need to be here. I don't think online always provides the kind of connection that you need with people, and because my Spanish is not even close to being anything positive, I either would do those meetings in Spanish, I would do some of the ones in English, but we would make sure from those groups, and in talking to those groups, what do they prefer, not what do we prefer. I talked about advertising. I think when you look at phase 2, so once we get the search, we start recruiting people immediately. Once we have that criteria piece, it's in your packet. We can do a brochure. Candidly, I don't think that has, if you want to do it, we'll do it. Most people don't need a brochure. You have a great website that provides all those details, and it's just providing additional work and time. You know, I think most people, when they want to learn about the district, they go to the district's website, look and see what that information is, and most of the information it's duplicating the same information. Phase 3 is where we do our background checks. So when we bring candidates to you, we'll take I always ask boards to think of it as a funnel, right? Think of your process as bringing as many candidates in. There'll be some things I'll say make it a required, but not too much. So for example, required that the person has cabinet level experience. You need it, in my mind, you would say that would be the requirement. People put, well, doctorate preferred, this preferred. You can always do that later. There's no reason to put that in an advertisement, right? The main thing is you want someone that's been at least an assistant superintendent or a superintendent, and so that would be the requirement. Because as you learn more about candidates, there could be candidates that if they read an article, an advertisement that says preferred, most cases they're not going to apply. So you want to control how you bring candidates in your process. And so think of that funnel, and then as you draw people in, then we can get that. You'll get, my gut is you'll probably get 25 plus people that will apply for that job, for this job, and some of them won't be qualified. We'll take those out, and then we'll bring you a list of roughly 10 to 12 candidates, what we call our short lists. There'll be candidates that meet not only the qualified, but also meet your criteria. And then from that list, the board will select who they want to interview. Our interview process, again, is not cookie cutter. Some boards include a community panel, for example, which includes usually representative from each one of your bargaining units. Each board member usually picks a person, and then there may be somebody that's from your cabinet or whatever, but a small group that will also, if the board chooses to use it, it's not required, use this group to interview candidates, but they don't rank candidates. They don't say who they thought they liked, right? Because that is in conflict of what you're doing. They just say, here's what we saw as the strengths, here's what we saw as potential opportunities, and that can be part of the process. And there's other things that we think that are valuable outside of the standard. Here's a list of questions each board member goes around and asks questions from, because some people are great at answering questions, but you want to see the most well-rounded process so you get a picture of who your candidate really is and who the fit is. The other thing that we give to the board before that short list we talked about, that 8 to 12 people, is they do a video of usually 3 to 4 questions that kind of talk about whatever the board wants them to ask. We have some questions that we recommend. So now now you've got a copy of their paperwork, right? Their background, their history. You've got reference checks. So we've done some high-level reference checks to that 8 to 12 people. You've got videos, and so before you interview, you've got a pretty well-rounded picture of who these candidates are, and not this just myopic view of what's written down on paper. The board interviews candidates. If you choose the panel, they would interview candidates, and usually in a pretty quick time, the board's able to identify without further steps who they want as your next leader. And then what we call our phase 5 is usually about a month later, once the person gets settled in. Part of our process is goals and objectives, right? How are you all on the same page of how you're going to evaluate your next leader, and what does that evaluation process look like? What are you going to evaluate them on? And that is a collaborative discussion between your next leader to ensure that that shared vision you have as a leadership team and as a governance team is in alignment, right? And that helps that person get off to a good start. That helps you make sure you understand what the expectations are, and then everything you're driving to for at least the next couple of years is based on those goals and objectives. So we were really aggressive in our search fee. This is all inclusive. The only thing that would be more is if you said we want to advertise in some other journal or whatever, you don't need to do that. That's not how we're going to find candidates. We pick the best places to advertise. It is, again, not the way we're going to find candidates. We're going to find candidates because we're going to identify people that we think would be a great fit for your district. And I'll stop talking and see if you have any questions.
All right, thank you very much, board. Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Or I guess, and how much time? We've got about 15 minutes for
Oh, I
questions.
thought you were going to say 2.
I have a
I tried to do the 15-15 like we were
Miss
directed.
Johnson,
Yes, sir.
so you have this 60 days of advertising on EdJoin. Can that be reduced down to 30? And why is it so long? Why is it 60 days? Maybe there's a reason why. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what I would say to you is the process is important, and there's a balance between a sense of urgency and making sure we have enough time to do that. I think 60 days is just kind of our average point of making sure the way EdJoin publishes, that they get both rounds of publishing from EdJoin in case they missed the first one. That's all. That's the only reason.
That's it. That's
That's
the only
it.
reason. Okay, and the big question, that's how are you so inexpensive compared to the other firms?
So I'm a board member. And, you know, I lead the search. I think ADA is an important factor, and that's what we also consider. We don't treat every search the same. So I'll give you an example without giving you a dollar amount, but when I did Fresno, we didn't charge Fresno this amount because they're a larger district, right? And so your ADA and your resources in your district are important. It doesn't take away from the work that we do. But if you have more students, it means you're having more meetings, you're having more groups to meet with, and so that's part of that time and effort and expense. But I believe in being a good steward with our students' resources, and no matter what search we do, no one's hitting the, I don't mean to be disrespectful, no one's making a lot of money when we do a search, but I think considering this, the ADA of the district is an important factor in determining what we charge as a fee. Even though I get pushback from our home office about it, I think it's an important factor.
Thank you, appreciate that.
You're welcome, sir.
I had a,
No, go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Dr. Hasso.
I had a question just on timeline. So those 5 phases, what does that timeline look like? 2 months, 3 months?
I would ask the board, ideally, when do you want your leader to start? But on average, it's 3 to 4 months to do the search properly. And people ask, can you be more aggressive in your timeline? Of course we can. I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend that even if you had someone come in as an interim for a month, right? Or if you have someone inside that could do that or whatever, but I would not overly rush the process because the long-term damage potentially is greater than the short-term gain. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And I had one more question. Oh, as a consultant, so you would be partnering with IDA, and how many districts would you be working with at one given time?
No more than one other.
Okay.
It's difficult anyway to do one fair, but because of the timelines, we're not doing a whole lot of overlap. And our team we identify myself and Aida as at that team, but sometimes we bring other people in just because of scheduling and timing, and that's why it's nice to have the number of consultants we do in California, because I've helped my peers on searches where I'm not officially on the team, but because they needed someone to come in, for example, and do stakeholder meetings, then I'm like, well, I'm closer than you are. It's just as easy for me to do it as one of my colleagues. You're welcome.
I have a question. What's distinctive about your company, and why should we pick you?
Well, that's a great sales 101 questions. And two, I think there's a couple of things. The one I mentioned, the way we approach the search process, everyone says it, but I think when you look at how we go about including community members and the intentionality of making sure those unique voices are heard, they're important. And parents and communities feel they're given a lot of talk, right? People are told, we want to hear from you, we want to know what you think. But the way it's done doesn't reflect that. And I can go into detail about our stakeholder report, but that report identifies every group, so not by who was in the group, but like if it was DLAC, that group, CTA, CSEA, whoever the groups are, we list that feedback. And then even on our online survey, we list where those responses came from as far as how they identify themselves in that community. And we provide a document with all that information. We ask the board to put it online. So I think that really a high level of stakeholder feedback, which is one of the things that differentiates us. I'm obviously going to be biased about the next one. I think as a board member, our voice and our lens is different. And I respect my colleagues that are superintendents. They are the educational leaders. They're the ones that implement that vision, but most of them have never run a campaign. Most of them have never dealt with what we talked about a minute ago, right? Showing up in the grocery store. And that level of accountability when someone just walks to your house. And this one guy used to come to my house whenever he felt like, and would just knock on my front door. Like, I'm like, dude, you got to at least give me, but he would just come by the house. I need to talk to you. I'm like, that's a different lens. And so that provides insight to what you're dealing with, right? If you've never dealt with that as a board member or those kind of things, you can theoretically know, but you don't know. And so I think that's why I know it's important about that fit piece in a different way than my colleagues that are the experts, right? They're the educational experts. There's just a different issue that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis that helps kind of define what you're looking for in your next leader. I would say that's the second piece. And I like our video interviews. I don't know if anybody else is doing that, but I don't think a lot of people are. And I think the ability to see that video, social media and being on camera is something that every leader could have happen just like that, right? CNN could have a camera. And how does somebody respond to that and that level of pressure? And you know, superintendents are dealing with things that they've never dealt with before. We know districts that are handling things well and those that aren't. And a leader to be able to deal with, especially post-COVID, quite frankly, the craziness of how things that aren't about students are impacting that leadership role. It takes a different kind of leader, and making sure that just because you have a title, we are looking at all those things in a different way than I think a lot of people are. So those would be the big three. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Johnson, so first of all, I do want to say thank you for talking about the grocery store example. When you said, who can run in and out of the grocery store in 15 minutes, I thought, well, I can't because I don't know where anything is. But I liked where you were going, is because people are talking to me. And that's 100% the truth. I agree with that. I really do appreciate this board member perspective that you would bring to a search like this. I think that is really important for us because I think it's an oftentimes overlooked perspective, despite the fact that we're making the decision. I think sometimes that gets overlooked. So I really do appreciate that a lot. So I did want to go into a little bit more detail about these video interviews. These are interview questions that you and your team would ask, and then those videos are sent to us as sort of like a preliminary introduction, or is this taking the place of an interview that we would have with the candidate?
Oh, that's a great question. So the short list before you would interview people, the 8 to 10 people, that 8 to 12 usually we bring to a board, that would be a preview. So you would have that video, the videos of the short list, not who you're going to interview, but those candidates we should say, look at these, determine who you should interview. They would all have videos.
Okay, and I realize that there's a lot of importance that is put on confidentiality, as you mentioned, that's really important. How do you square that? Do you transmogrify their voice and put them behind a shade? Like, how does that work out?
We trust, the only people that see the videos are you.
Okay.
So they're not public videos. I know you'll get feedback from the public that we want to be a part of the process. We want this, we want that. And there are appropriate ways, like the stakeholder meetings. If you use the community panel, there are appropriate ways to engage the community. And there are ways that the community should not be involved, right, to maintain that confidentiality. Some districts like to do public meetings for everybody. That's disrespectful. Who would want that for their own career, right? To go for a job and then everyone know you're going for a job and then you didn't get it. And then you put your other career at risk with your current employer. So I probably over answered your question, but the videos I think they provide a great insight of a lot of things. And I'll give you a couple examples. The videos can be, it's not a one-shot deal, right? We give the candidates a link. They're given questions. They can answer and redo the questions as many times as they like, because the first time you do it, right, you're not going to be perfect, so that people redo it. And you can tell who spent the time to do it right and who didn't. And so that, to me, gives some things away, or some candidates, gosh, I'm old. The time runs out, and instead of going back and redoing it, it runs out in mid-thought. And so those provide the board, maybe not complete pictures, but it provides more additional information. And sometimes the difference between two candidates is this, but it's like the Olympics. This makes a gold medal or a silver or a bronze. And so to me, it's another way for you to see what's the strengths of potential candidates.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, that's unique, and I think that sounds pretty appealing, actually. So I think we only have about a minute left. So, board, any other last-minute questions you want to get in?
One quick question. It
Sure,
says
okay.
the proposed cost for the Duarte Unified School District search is not to exceed. That means it will not exceed.
Like I said, the only thing that would be additional is if you said we want to advertise someplace that's not identified, and I don't think there's any place that we haven't identified that would be good. So that's everything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. We really
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
your
Thank
time.
you for your time too, board. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it'd be, yes, a 5-minute bio break sounds good. All right, welcome back, people that were on a break there. So, Dr. Hillman, do you want to introduce our next candidate here?
Be happy to. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. David Verdugo, as well as his colleague, Rich Tome, Mr. Rich Tome, from Leadership Associates. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you. I want to begin by expressing our thanks to the trustees for the opportunity to present our Leadership Associates Superintendent Search proposal. As mentioned, my name is David Verdugo, and I wanted to go ahead and turn it over to Rich for his introduction, then I'll do a little bit of an introduction myself, and we'll get started with these slides.
Good evening, and thank you very much for allowing us to present our search firm to you. Rich Thom Chavez is my name, 1964 Duarte High School graduate, a few years ago. That's my prop right there, my Letterman's jacket. But yeah, I went on to Mount San Antonio College, then LA State, became a teacher, principal, coordinator, director, and finally assistant superintendent at Capistrano Unified, and then I wanted to be a superintendent in 2 districts in San Diego County. I've been with Leadership Associates since 2006. I started doing searches in 2002 with the county, and then I joined Leadership in 2006. So kind of one of the veterans on the team. But thank you very much again, and look forward to your questions, and I'll do my part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. David Verdugo, a retired superintendent from Paramount Unified School District, where I spent 10 years as the superintendent there. Following retirement from Paramount Unified School District in Los Angeles County, I was selected as the executive director of CALSA, the California Association of Latino Superintendents and Administrators. I spent 6 years in that position. And also I worked in Washington, D.C. for ALAS, which is the American Association of Latino Superintendents and Administrators. I was the Leadership Academy Director, which was responsible for mentoring and coaching aspiring superintendents throughout the nation. An educator for about 47 years and approximately 65 searches that I've completed. And I've been a senior partner with Leadership Associates now for about the last 10 years. Prior to going to the next slide, though, I thought it was important to mention to you that I did want to inform the board that Leadership Associates happens to be the only silver affiliate search firm that's recognized by CSBA, and we're very proud of that fact. This next slide, I think, is particularly important and very critical because it displays kind of the unique and outstanding specialist support during the search that we at Leadership Associates provide. Each of the search support specialists that you see on the left of the screen there are former superintendent secretaries or executive assistants. And they do provide highly qualified, very specialist assigned to this particular search. In fact, in this case, it will be Linda Harder, the young lady that you see at the top of that. She is the former Fullerton Joint Union High School superintendent secretary or executive assistant, providing very comprehensive, very much on-call support, personalized written guidelines. She'll provide templates, sample documents, checklist. And I think one thing that's particularly important is a comprehensive Brown Act assistance, because it's so critical to understand and realize those things. Very responsive communication. And we believe, as we do these searches, that this is really critical in this case for Mrs. Ruiz to have that kind of assistance, and also for technology to have that kind of assistance as we begin to develop the surveys and so on for your community during the stakeholder input sessions. And I like to think of this, and I think I need to push all of these. I apologize. I like to think of this as our why, if you will. We like to refer to this slide as our why. And this is really who we are. We're a partnership of active California educational leaders. We're committed to improving the quality of education for all California students. What we believe is that a high-quality public education committed to providing excellent and equitable education for our children is really the foundation for a democratic society. That the leadership of this school district will have a huge impact on the success of all of your staff, your students, your families, and your community. And that every student and every staff member certainly deserve a passionate, caring, and inspired, focused leader. We certainly value, very much so, integrity, equity, excellence, diversity, inclusion, accountability, and transparency. And we obviously know that you desire a great leader who can and will continue to create and sustain meaningful, innovative progress here in the district accordingly. This next slide, and again, I think I'm having to push all of these buttons at the same time here. We understand the critical importance of partnering with you in the future of this position by conducting a highly professional executive search tailored to your needs. This is your search, it's not ours. We will follow, of course, your recommendations and advice. By providing challenging, engaging professional growth opportunities, we do that now with a number of cohorts that we work with. We do provide a complimentary 90-day plan or a 100-day plan for the newly placed superintendent here. And they are registered for a summer institute that we maintain. This past June, we had at our summer institute approximately 130 superintendents from throughout the state that attended our particular function. And of course, it's very important to be engaged with boards and superintendents and the leaders that we support accordingly. Let me go back, I apologize. This slide displays our leadership associate partners. And I say partners because we are not, and we don't consider ourselves consultants. It's across the state of California. Each of us has a very, very vested interest. We are located in California, although we do have a national reach. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, we've placed more out-of-state superintendents in California than any other firm in the state of California. Twice a month, all of our partners on a Zoom call in which we have a meeting to discuss, review, recruit, placement, references, and positions that are taking place. And so in essence, you not only have myself and Rich, you really have our entire team as we begin to break down the best fit and certainly the best match for Duarte. Rich and I are both bilingual, and so as a result, we think that's going to be particularly important with stakeholder input. As I mentioned, our reach is national. In fact, 2 of our partners are board members for school districts currently that you see listed there. And then if I may, I just wanted to mention that we are very proud about the fact that we have a long and proud history of successful searches, over 750 searches. If I'm not mistaken, about 65% of the searches we've been responsible for in the state of California. So we're certainly California savvy. As you know, whether it's the financing or the legislative aspects of being a superintendent are critical in the state of California. And this is a small sampling of school districts in the general or immediate area that we've been responsible for. And of course, Duarte is on that list as a result of being very proudly having the responsibility of doing that work previously with your boards of education. So Pasadena, Norwalk, La Mirada, Bellflower, and Duarte, of course, is on there as well. And then lastly, in terms of turning it over to Rich here, I wanted to bring to your attention our state and national connections. Many of these outstanding organizations that you see on that list, we have been responsible, and they've relied on us for the searches of their CEOs and their executive directors, whether it's the CSBA, whether it's AXA, CALSA. In fact, I just finished up in San Francisco about a month ago, the new CALSA executive director. I've worked with CAPL. We provided them our bylaws, as a matter of fact, and of course, the national group of ALAS. So that provides us a tremendous network. Since we don't have a stable, we don't have a pool. It's not as if we have people waiting for this position, but rather working with you accordingly to make sure that it's the unique and right position accordingly. Rich? Mm-hmm. There it is.
Thank you very much. And we're not trying to bore you with our PowerPoint, but we want to get through it quickly so we can get to the questions and answers. Certainly, as you look at the circle, it starts and ends with the board. You'll make a selection tonight. You're going to hear a lot of similar things from all the companies. We're probably the oldest company, and we have a lot of traction for all these years. I personally have done about 110 superintendent searches about 150 total searches, including executives. And I'm only 44 years, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so it starts with you. We do a lot of work with your community. We believe that's really important. With the size and scope of your district, we will make sure that every neighborhood is represented somehow or another. Definitely the Spanish-speaking population will be included. We're both fluent in Spanish. And we'll outreach to your employees as well to get everybody's opinion. All that comes back to you, and then you decide, what of that is going to be in your minds when you select candidates to interview for you. All the communities, we're going to ask you for a list of partners, and we want it to be very inclusive. All of you have different backgrounds in Duarte, and you all have different contacts, and we'll make sure we get all of those on the list. So David covered a little bit of our recruitment. All of those people you saw on that California map are our partners. So they are the ones that help us recruit. We do the work, but we're on the phone at least once a week, sometimes 5 times a week, talking to them about everybody that's good for this particular district after you've given us what you want to see in the district in terms of a profile. They help us a ton because they're up and down the state of California. As David mentioned, we also get a lot of out-of-state people. And finally, we bring the candidates to you. You choose who you want to interview. You interview them, and then hopefully we find the right match for Duarte Unified. I'm going to hit this to the right. Oh, good, one more thing. So we do a lot of work with superintendents, which heightens our pool. We've had over 200 superintendents in 8 counties take our training. I don't have to read all these to you. You can kind of look at them. We do all kinds of work with superintendents, advisement, cabinets, leadership, audits, strategic planning, all of the kinds of things you would expect consultants at our level to do. Of particular note is our leadership series and networks. We have networks going right now. All of those people have potential candidates for Duarte Unified. And since Duarte Unified is very, very personal to me, very high on David's favorite list, we're going to find the best person for you. So all these things you see down below, the leadership series, networks, 45 districts in California, 44 districts in our leadership networks. We have our instructional leadership series, a lot of assistant soups in San Bernardino County. We actually talk to a lot of assistant superintendents everywhere, and we advise and do workshops in 27 districts in California. Next. Why us? Well, I think for one, for starters, to bring it home, we know Duarte. I've been briefed on Duarte. Everything from Duarte Road and Mountain all the way to Fish Canyon. We know where the schools are. We know where the communities are. We know where the people are. We have a good sense after working with many of you in our past searches. We have a good sense of what you want. We want to find the best and brightest person capable that really meets your requirements, and that's what we do. So we're going to give you a broad pool of candidates. As we mentioned, we have a big, kind of a big network. 1,500 people are going to get the announcement if we get the job immediately. David mentioned that we do about 65% of the searches in California. Of those, 2/3 of our finalists have been candidates of color or women, one of the two. And sometimes an overlap, obviously. We're California-based and California-savvy with over 750 searches. David mentioned we're not hired consultants. This is what we do for a living. We own the company. It's ours. So we're not like picked out of a hat to work for a company that's based in Nebraska or some other place. And we offer leadership development for superintendents and the boards. Part of what we'll offer you is a board workshop, a couple months if we're chosen, governance workshop to make sure that everybody, really it's role definition, how's it going? We'll do that for free. So that's who we are, and we really, we're excited for the opportunity. We hope that we get to the finalists here, And with that, we're ready for questions. Thank you. In Spanish or English, whatever you want.
Great, thank you both very much, Dr. Verdugo and Rich. All right, board, I'll go ahead and open it up to you for any questions that you have for our two guests here. We've got about 15 minutes total, so.
You have a very impressive resume. Why should we pick you? Besides because it's impressive.
I think we're gonna, what we know from the people that we've worked with, you're only as good as your past and what you've done. And we've brought more candidates from more places to boards for them to choose from. We have a tremendous track record. I think we've only had maybe 3 or 4 people really not work out of 750. We've had people that had to leave for other reasons, health, et cetera. But we have a great record of people being here for more than 5 years, being in their jobs for more than 5 years. So we really appreciate that. We really are going to listen to you. It's your search. There's no hidden cost. There's one fee and that's it. We're not going to say, we had to stay at the Days Inn across the street. So, we'd like to have reimbursement. No reimbursement. One cost, that's it. And we mentioned about the Leadership Associates, Women and Persons of Color. We're passionate, committed to this work. And like I said, all of my key years in my life were in Duarte. All of my friends are Duarte-based friends still. So there's a whole lot of people out there, hoping that we get the job, hoping that we carry their voices to you, the alumni in Duarte Unified. I graduated in '64. We hang out together. We golf together. A lot of friends of mine, and a lot of them have passed, but many of them are still around, and we want to bring that voice to you as well. David.
And if I may,
Thank you, Mr.
Mrs.
Chavez.
O'Gean, simply, I think I'll take a word that Rich used, and that's the passion for the job that we currently do. Certainly the experience factor is a major player with respect to this. Many, of course, of our superintendent selections have gone through a vetting process that's outstanding. We know who has baggage out there. We know who you don't want, of course, and I know that sounds semi-assertive, but the point is that that vetting process, that comprehensive reference checking is really important as well, and we take a lot of pride in that. But I think the passion that Rich mentioned is really very, very important in what we believe in what those leaders should be like for a school district accordingly.
Thank you, Dr. Verdugo.
Other questions from the board? All right, I will, if they're still thinking, I do have a couple of questions here. So you had mentioned a little bit, you touched a little bit about the 750 searches that you've done. Do you have any data on sort of the longevity of these individuals? I haven't been on the board that long. I've been on since the end of 2019. And I mean, in my day job, sometimes I do have to hire people. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of stress, and that's part of the reason, that we are entertaining the idea of having a search firm is to sort of take on some of the load of that work. And this obviously is an extremely important decision that the board has to make. So, that's all to say, we don't want to do this on a regular basis. And it's something that, there are circumstances that come up that require it, obviously. But do you have any data about those 750 searches that you've done about who's stuck around?
Absolutely. I think the one thing that comes to mind is the impression that we provide to superintendents on how important longevity is. The research obviously says that between 5 and 7 years is what's required in the seat in order to really get the job done accordingly. In terms of some data, I would say from my reflections and information, about 85 to 90% of the superintendents that we have placed remain for a period of at least 5 years. In fact, we have a general rule, if you will, and that is that we will not recruit or attempt to ask someone who, we would not recruit somebody, I should say, who's not been in the position for at least 5 years. We think that that's very important, that visibility. We also think that, and most of our partners believe in this, and that is that the relationship between a superintendent and his Board of Education is the closest thing to a marriage. I think it's certainly the closest thing that I've ever encountered, and I've been married for 53 years. So the point being is that it's really a combination of effort, really a collaborative effort when it comes to that. But the data that I would share with you is approximately 85%, a little bit higher, have remained in their positions accordingly.
Okay, great. And sort of tangentially related to that, is there any sort of guarantee that is offered about, if somebody is placed and doesn't work out for whatever reason?
Yeah, we will, and we've had to do a couple recently because of illness of superintendents, but a 2-year guarantee. And we'll do it basically for free. Maybe expenses if you would like to help us with expenses. But, we're both close by, so there won't be any hotels or anything like that. It would be, whatever you require, if you required us to be somewhere somehow. But other than that, no cost at all. And we've done 2 recently. I did one in Grossmont because the poor superintendent unfortunately got brain cancer. And then one in Culver City because the superintendent there's sister died and he had to go back to Florida to take care of his mom. So, yeah, 2 years and it's just the same search. I mean, we did the same complete search in both those districts, same advertisement, same everything. Those would be expenses that if you want them, you can do that. You don't have to advertise as we did. But yeah, as far as our fee, nothing.
Yeah, I think the only expense that we incurred was for our executive assistant, or the secretary
That's right,
who
that's
helps
right.
us. That was the only, Rich and I did not receive any compensation for the Culver City position.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was I going to ask? I guess in terms of placement, of the superintendent after they're selected, you talked a little bit about 90 or 100-day sort of onboarding assistance, sort of some post-hiring support. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is like and the successes you've had with that?
Yeah, our founder came up with a saying that we service what we sell. And for a year, for sure, we're going to be at the side of the superintendent to make sure that any questions or confusion or whatever, we will be there for them. It might be Zoom, it might be here in Duarte, and it might be on the telephone, but we're going to make sure that that superintendent is successful by being with them for a year. David?
Yeah, with respect to the actual 90-day plan itself, it actually is a strategic plan of sorts as to how best integrate into the community with the board, with your staff, with the employees, and it's more than being a thought partner. I think the key there, though, that I would mention is that it's always done in conjunction with the board. That's really the collaborative effort that takes place. It's easy to say we'd like you to have 90 contacts in 90 days, but there is a goal there, and the idea is to really immerse themselves in the district accordingly, whether it's families and visibility in the classroom, with employees, with your civic leaders, the different kinds of organizations. We think that that's part of the kickoff, if you will, or the orientation that's particularly important, and we are there to help. In fact, if there's a board retreat that's required nowadays, we don't even call them retreats anymore. We call them board advances. So it's a little bit more proactive than just being a thought partner or being on the phone, but we would be here. I'm close by. I happen to live, my residence is in La Habra, and so as a result, didn't take but 25 minutes to get here, should that be the need. So we're available.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think that's all my questions.
I have
Yes,
one
Dr.
question.
Hasso.
Yeah.
In terms of the candidate selection process, could you provide an approximate number of how many people will you provide to us, just kind of that first round, and then how many interviews are we looking at, and then what's a typical number of finalists?
Yeah. We believe that you'll get somewhere in the neighborhood, in terms of qualified superintendents, 20 to 25 highly qualified people You're going to get more than that in terms of people making inquiries, right? Because sometimes it's a chemistry teacher from Alaska that decides that Duarte is a good place to move to, right? And so it's about that many. You will see all of the applications, everybody that applied. Then we'll tell you who we believe is the highest or the most qualified based on what you gave us in terms of what you want to see. So we'll give you that. You decide who gets interviewed. Typically, we like to interview max 7, somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 is always good, right?
And that period of time can be a one-day interview process, or if the board selects a 2-day process, it's totally dependent upon you. As Rich mentioned, you'll see every single applicant. You'll have the opportunity during our candidate selection meeting, that usually is 2 hours, 2.5 hours or so, where you can ask us questions regarding any particular candidate and what we have found out or vetted. The application process requests that there be 5 references, 3 letters of recommendation. We also have a question on the application that literally asks the applicant, can we go beyond that? We do. If they check off no, that's an indicator. It's a little bit of a red flag, obviously. But beyond those references and letters of recommendation, I mean, I've never seen a bad letter of recommendation. So we go way beyond that with respect to our references. So the tiers, or the people that we feel are the best match and fit, are brought to you in a tier format, tier 1, tier 2. And sometimes there's a slight differentiation between a tier 2 and a tier 1, but you'll have the opportunity to ask a little bit more comprehensively. Tell us a little bit more why this person's a tier 1 and why this person's a tier 2. So that examination is available for you folks to ask of us.
Thank you. I have one follow-up question, kind of on the
Yes.
same topic. How long will you typically fly the position, whether you're advertising that or posting it on EdJoin?
Great question. Our estimation right now is that we would begin as early as we could possibly begin to advertise as early as September 1st, but most likely prior to that, sometime in August. The time frame that we've developed or drafted provides an opportunity for Duarte to have a new superintendent begin, again, dependent upon the board's wishes, by December 1st. There are some advantages to that. The fact that school has already started, that it's already kind of moving in a certain direction, that type of thing. But all of that being said, our predictability is that you would have a deadline for applications right around September 22nd. And then we would get started on our comprehensive checks and vetting process, a variety of meetings. But prior to that, of course, stakeholder input. One thing that was not mentioned is the executive summary that we provide. So all of the information, it's almost like a WASC accreditation format or document that provides you all the information of what we've heard from a variety of languages, by the way, on the survey, as well as all the stakeholder input for you to see. We ask the question of what are those characteristics and experiences that you'd like to see in a superintendent, but we also ask what are the strengths of the district, and sometimes more importantly, what are the challenges of the school district. That gets placed into the position profile, of course, and that, again, is a wonderful roadmap for the new superintendent to review and have available to them, again, in conjunction with the board.
Thank you so much.
We want to mention, if we can mention a few things here. With regard to why, I really believe that Duarte is on the verge of a big change. You've gone down some enrollment. It's a little stable the last couple of years, which is great. But you have great programs. This board has put together some tremendous programs, opportunities for children. You know, we believe that in our recruitment, this is a choice district because of all the changes you've made recently. Now, some of them weren't so popular with the community, the closure of a school, et cetera. But bottom line is that you've got opportunities for children. So when we talk to a superintendent candidate, we can say, this is where they are. They've gone through a lot of change in the last few years, but it is a great opportunity to come in and make these programs well-known throughout the region. Because, You know, when I first did a search here several years ago, in talking to students, they believed that they weren't going to go to anywhere except for possibly Pasadena City College or Rio Hondo or Mount Sac or something. And they didn't have the opportunities that these kids now have because of the changes that this board has made. So now it's really an opportunity district as I see it. So again, back to the why, I think that's a major positive thing for our recruitment as we move forward.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments, board? All right, well, thank you both very much for your time this evening. We really appreciate it.
Much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you now. Take care.
I shall retire my prop if that's okay.
Yes, that is just fine.
Thank you.
I'm impressed that you kept it this long.
Still looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Hillman, if you could introduce our next group, please.
So good evening and welcome to Dr. Stephen Keller and Dr. Lillian Maldonado. I'm sorry. I'm tired. Maldonado French. I beg your pardon. These folks are from the Educational Support Services Group. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and you are great people. Thank you so much. Am I clicking? Who do I talk to back there? I'm going to assume I'm the clicker. Good evening, I'm Stephen Keller. Nice to meet you all. Thank you for inviting us. Stephen Keller, retired superintendent, 16 years, retired 2 years ago from the Redondo Beach Unified School District. One place as superintendent for a long time. There you go.
You have the same problem I do where I'm above the microphone, so yeah, we have to take an extra
That's okay.
effort.
I won't take it personally.
Great, thank you.
And I'm a little sensitive about microphones sometimes. And for the last 2 years, ESS has been my home as a consultant, and I've been involved with 5 searches, just to let you know, and very successful searches. And I'm here to talk to you about the great things we do here at ESS. Joining me tonight is Dr. Maldonado, who is going to be speaking in a little while. We didn't want to do this stand-up, sit-down piece. And just a little bit more about me, former superintendent, director, principal, actually worked in Baldwin Park down the street in the late 1990s for some of you people that are closer to my age. And I went to college right down the 210 freeway in the lovely Claremont colleges. So love the 210 corridor, and thanks again for having us. And I just want to tell you one person who couldn't make it here tonight, Mr. Richard Tower. He is on vacation, but he would be our third person in this process, just to let you know. So we're bringing a big team to this search if we are the selected group. And Richard has plenty of experience with superintendent searches. So let us begin. The biggest difference in ESS, all these folks we know, and I'm sure they're sharing, we're having some great stories back here. But I really want to point out one of the most important pieces of our service. And I think if you talk to any of the boards that I've worked with recently, whether it's Riverside Unified School District, where we just concluded a search, South Pasadena concluded a search about 4 months ago, is they feel, I think the analogy they would make, and we like to make, is we're the Trader Joe's of search firms. We're very concierge level. We take this very personally. We do not have a one-size-fits-all. We meet the needs of the Duarte Unified School District. There's absolutely no one-size-fits-all. Every search is different, and I've learned that personally, and I learned it as a superintendent as well. And we really look, and you'll hear this from our team, all 3 of us, which is that we really are looking for people like you that are going to stay a while. And that's one of the data pieces we'll share in a moment. Limited number of searches. We don't need to do a lot of searches. We like to do a few a year. I don't want to do personally more than 3 searches a year. Searches are hard. They're intensive. You're talking to a lot of people. There's a lot of work involved. There is a lot of detail involved, and it's representing you. And we don't want to get that wrong. So juggling multiple searches at the same time is not what we like to do. We have local, state, national search reach. One thing I like to say is Lillian and I have recency. We're retired, arguably successful, long-time superintendents. We not only know some of these people, we've worked alongside some of these people. So that's very helpful for us. And in some of the searches I've been involved with, The very people I've either worked next door or worked with in my duration as a superintendent are people that wind up being superintendents, and they see, hopefully, that being a truly successful superintendent is remaining as a truly successful superintendent for a long period of time, not just 3 or 4 years, go find a new job. Diversity in superintendent placements. Approximately 50% of our superintendent placements are underrepresented folks who wind up securing the position. If you include women in that percentage, it's about 80% are either women or underrepresented groups. So we take it very seriously in our searches. We're very proud of that statistic. The other statistic I'd want to share with you is the transparent retention data. 94%, precisely, and it's in our proposal, 94% of our superintendents that we've placed since 2019 are still in their position. Again, longevity. We want people to come to Duarte and stay, provided you agree and you want them to stay. We have no predetermined outcome or stable. We don't have the same people coming to every interview and every search of ours. That's just not what we do. And I think one of the underrated pieces that we bring to you, and I think our board members in previous districts would tell you this, is we serve as your ambassador and your advocate. When you have a parent or a community member that may want a little more information or may have a little concern, we ask that you send them to us. We will handle this. This is why you're contracting with us. And so that's very important to us. We follow the EAST search process. EAST meaning E-A-S-T, you'll get the idea. Engagement. If we're the selected group, in a few weeks we'd come back and we'd have a board planning session and get you, we call it board readiness for the search. That would be the first thing we would do. It'd be an open session, and then in closed session we would talk about what are the parameters of compensation, contract, and things of that nature. We get going, and we get going quickly. The bread and butter of what we do, and I think really sets us apart of all the things, one of the probably 3 things, the most important pieces to our work, and Lillian's gonna come up and I'm gonna just briefly talk about it, is the educational partner input piece and the online survey, which then leads to the last bullet under the E is the leadership profile. That's basically a summary of what the voices in this community are validating that you're looking for in a superintendent. The leadership profile is your everything because it summarizes what you're looking for. It gives a roadmap for the new superintendent coming in, and it provides folks applying for the job very clear information whether or not they're a fit or not. You don't want people applying for this job that are not a fit. And we're not people that want to run up the score and say we have 150 applicants for the job. We want people to know what Duarte is all about, and Lillian will go more into that. And then we'll provide you a compensation study as well under the engagement, like-size districts, local comparison districts. The A in activation, we post it like all of our friends do, you've heard from so far. We know where people are looking for a superintendent job. We do candidate outreach. We have people that we all know, but the majority of your people are gonna look at the leadership profile, they're gonna see if they're a match, and then they're going to call us. That's really what you want. We certainly have people we know. We may tap a few people on their shoulder, but the majority will come from people saying, I always have been intrigued by Duarte, or I wanted to work in Duarte years ago, and this is my chance. We do the applicant screening. I would argue this is one of our top 3 pieces. We are hardcore about this. You want to make sure your candidates are vetted, not just because I met them once, they haven't, and so I know they're a good person, or on their resume they stated this person's name, and so I called the person said they're terrific. They called the person's mom, terrific. You really want to do a deep dive in this, and we have a lot of connections, what I call backdoor connections, to ensure we're getting accurate and objective information. We even do early on, we'll do a soft third-party social media review because social media footprint is significant these days. And as this newer generation comes through, a lot of people are using social media more today than ever before. The S in selection you'll determine the candidate slate. What ESS will do for you, we'll put them in tiers. Tier 1 will be the group of candidates that have applied for the job that meet the leadership profile of Duarte, and their references are impeccable. Tier 2 will be, maybe they don't check all the boxes of the leadership profile, but they check most of them, and their references are impeccable, so consider them. And then Tier 3, you can fill in the blanks for Tier 3, but what you do is you look at Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and you as a board are the ones that decide who you're going to interview. We do not decide that. We are not your 6th board member. Make that very clear. We are not your sixth and seventh and eighth board member for that matter. These are your decisions, but we will facilitate that discussion and certainly give you our objective information on each of them. We interview however many people you want on the first day, and the next day, the finalist or finalist will come back. You will create, based on the leadership profile, the interview questions for round one, and round two are really more follow-up on your part based on the first interview. At that time, for the selected candidate, you have a choice of doing a validation visit to ensure that everything works out or is accurate and authentic as it was presented to you. I've yet to do a validation visit in any of the searches I've done. The board has been very happy with the due diligence that has been provided to them, but we're willing to do that for you at no cost. It's included in the cost. And then we do a third-party background check that looks at all of these items that are very important and validates the information that we're getting from the candidate. We will work with you, although it really will be your school district attorney and your board president who will really lead the employment contract process, but we are involved. I will be involved in that process as well, as much as I am needed. And then ultimately the board approval of the selected superintendent candidate at a regularly scheduled board meeting. If you look at our proposal, it is indeed at a regularly scheduled board meeting. And then the transition phase, which is a workshop with the board and new superintendent, basically going over the leadership profile, saying here's where the community wants us to go. How do we get there? Let's talk about that. And then we will serve as a mentor and thinking partner for your selected person for 2 years. And with that, I'm going to have Lillian share a little bit more about engaging your community's partners. Thanks, Lillian.
So I can reach the mic very nicely. Good evening, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Lillian Maldonado French, superintendent recently of the Mountain View School District down the road. So Duarte is a little bit of my heart. I know you all well, and especially partnership with SELPA and during COVID. Our districts did a lot of things together, brought the community together, did a lot. So that's an important thing about me. The other parts are I did all the teacher, principal, assistant principal, assistant superintendent, superintendent. And what's, I think, a little bit unique about Stephen and I is that we've been superintendents for 16 and 17 years. That's a long time. I was in Mountain View for 13 years. So I know the value of having someone who's going to stay, who's going to really be part of the community. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. So engaging your community partners. For ESS, we believe that this is a very important part of this process. We want the community to have a voice. We want to hear from all the voices that you want to hear from. So the first thing we do is we have a meeting with you all so you can tell us who those people are. Some districts, they might be a foundation, there might be a particular parent group. Of course, your DLAC and your labor partners, a number of different focus groups. So will you decide how many of those we do? In addition to that, we have community-wide meetings, and we plan on 2 of them. Anyone who wants to come is welcome. Those are bilingual, if that is appropriate, English and Spanish, yo hablo español. And any other language. So we will work with your staff to see which languages are appropriate and how we can facilitate that. And then finally, the other groups is those individual contacts and conversations that we have with important leaders in your community, and you tell us who those are. Some districts, it can be the mayor, chief of police, and others, it might be a particular businessman or business person, or a group, let's say, that you feel has valuable thoughts about who the next superintendent should be. The important thing for you to know is with all those, really ask 3 questions. The questions we ask is, what is the best thing about Duarte? What are you most proud of? What is the one thing that you want to make sure that we keep? And what do you think are those attributes that's going to help that superintendent be successful? And you would be surprised. You think that you get the same kind of answers, and you do, and you have similar information, but every group has a unique perspective that's very important. So in addition to all those interviews and focus groups, there's an online survey, and we get the online survey out right away. Again, you saw in the proposal, we have something, a template that we can base it on, but we want you to feel comfortable. We want to give you the opportunity to consider maybe a question that you think is important for Duarte. And then in addition to that, we take all that information, compile it all together, and as Stephen mentioned, we do that leadership profile. Leadership profile is really important, not only to you, but also to the community. That is something that we can upload to your website, and the community can see that their voices were heard. So we feel that this part is truly an important piece. So again, we look at the things they love most about the community. What are those challenges that they feel might be something that they need to think about? And then finally, what are the qualities and characteristics of a superintendent that you feel is important? So we think that's going to give you the best possibility to have those candidates apply. And as you're going to see here from Stephen, we have wonderful testimonials and compliments about our work.
What I would share with you is I remember the first time I did the search, I read those 3 questions that Lillian just shared, and I thought, these aren't great questions. I really did. And after I asked them for the first time, it was very surprising how much information you can glean from those 3 questions and from different groups. And so I will tell you, having done this a few times, those questions will provide you a lot of information that will be helpful in your decision of selecting your new superintendent. With that, I do want to share with you, obviously we have testimonials. I won't read to you, but we can make this claim. We just finished a search in Del Mar, down in San Diego County. We just did Riverside. Before that, I told you South Pasadena. I think you will hear this from everybody. Don't mean to brag, but we are very, very focused on delivering all the services you ask and may not even be in the contract. We talk to everybody that wants to speak to us. If somebody can't make a meeting, we'll make the phone call to the person. If you say, hey, this is a person very important in our community, they're traveling, can you please take their phone call? No problem. We don't think twice about it. And then one of the things that I would share with you as a superintendent, probably one of the most important things, and I would say this to you, I'd suggest this to you, whether you select us or not, is one of the most important things for me as a superintendent was, I'll be honest with you, my line is 85% of your budget is consumed by things that eat. People. There's nothing more important you do than hire people, period. And so as people come into your district and interview for the job, as this candidate did in Central School District in Cucamonga, that's where I started my career in Cucamonga, it's very important that every person that touches this district, whether they apply and don't receive an interview or they apply and do receive an interview, we want to treat them like they are, high quality parts of the family, of the Duarte family. And so not only are the winning candidates, if you will, saying nice things about us, but all the candidates that go through our process thank us. We are, as Brene Brown says, we are clear yet kind to all of our candidates, as you will be with us. And so with that, we're here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that presentation and the clearness and the kindness that was associated with that. So, board, any questions for our guests here?
Yes, how do you see our timeline?
I see the timeline, we see the timeline is absolutely doable. There's not been one timeline we have not met. So the timeline that we presented, I will tell you, we just did a search in Riverside. The timeline was very aggressive, and we exceeded it because the board was ready to move forward. And so if our synergy is such that that timeline works for you, we can make it happen. If you said, hey team, can you bump it up a little? We will figure it out.
Because you have, I believe, the middle of October, correct?
Yeah.
On here.
Yeah. Your regularly scheduled board meeting.
Thank you.
Other questions, board? All right, I do have a couple of questions here. So I fully agree with you about the importance of engaging with the stakeholders in our community because they do provide some really valuable input. I will couch that a little bit by saying I think we all remember, you know, being in grade school and when we were having school elections, you know, you had a fifth grader that said, I'm going to go ahead and have soda come out of all the drinking fountains if you vote for me. So how do you deal with feedback from stakeholders that is just not grounded in truth?
So, very good question. One of the things that we do is our community meetings are interactive. So it's not people just raising their hand or having to respond. And actually, that's pretty intimidating to get someone to be able to feel comfortable in speaking in a large group. So rather than do that, we have some beginning introductions, and then there's information posted throughout the room where people can get up, talk, walk. So as a former teacher and a curriculum person, I really believe in facilitation in a way that makes people feel comfortable and people feel safe. So that usually will preclude someone from, you know, being the person who takes over the meeting. Or so we have ways of making sure that every voice is heard, and I agree, very important.
Excellent, thank you. And can you talk a little bit more about the hiring profile that you mentioned? And from what I'm understanding, that hiring profile comes from meetings with the board and with stakeholders and sort of saying, this is what we want. So is it sort of like a glorified job description, or
No.
what's kind of more
Yeah.
the feeling of that?
This would be themes and trends we secure from you and the community. So for example, you'll hear, you know, is there a preference if, as an example, of somebody that is bilingual or conversant in a second language? What we look for in that leadership profile, by the way, is to ensure that you're getting a nice synthesis of that, because you'll get plenty of voices about the soda in the drinking fountain. Those typically, the one-off comments are not included. It's the themes and trends that make it in that document. You'll hear people say sometimes we'd like somebody who is more local, is aware of Duarte. They don't necessarily have to live here, but you know, at least know where it is on a map. Maybe there's a preference to have a sitting superintendent. Sometimes that comes up. But that ultimately, these are kind of you know, pie in the sky what they would like. Job descriptions, more mundane details of the job responsibilities, show up to work on time, show up, you know, 240 days a year, things like that. So this is kind of pie in the sky what they'd like to look, and typically it's a lot of the soft skills that you hear. Somebody who's empathetic, kind, listens, not quick to judge people, doesn't have, you know, favorites. You kind of get the trend that you get typically, but it varies from district to district. But I will say the hottest word that comes up recently for me, I've seen, empathetic is probably the biggest word we hear, and I've heard it in every search I've done.
Okay, thank you. And then one other question I had was about the validation visit. So I'm a relatively new board member, and so we've only hired one superintendent in the time I've been here, and she happened to be very internal. So there was not necessarily a validation visit that was required. And so you had said that in the searches you've done, that really hasn't been requested by the board. So what is that validation visit like if we did have something like that?
So I can share because I had a validation visit when I was hired at Mountain View. Basically, a couple of board members, or it might have been the whole board, came to my place of work. I was the superintendent of Los Nietos School District in Whittier prior to this. And they came to make sure that what I said was what they saw, basically. Was there a collaboration? Did they see what I had explained? And so it's a way of making the board being able to validate that this occurred. And they also met with our labor leaders. And so it was a very positive experience. And our board in Los Nietos felt very well treated and proud. So it isn't, we're going to take your person away. It's look at how we're going to work together, and we want to hear about the wonderful things this person does.
Yeah, and just briefly, I had one too, but I've never conducted one as a search consultant. And mine was 2 board members came to the school district to validate, so they didn't have to post the meeting and, follow. It was more informal. And it was, I mean, did I set the table to make sure they met with the right people? Sure, soda in the drinking fountain type thing. But, you all are savvy. If you wanted to do one, you know where to get the information if you had one. We can make it work, whether it's the whole board or just a representative, 2 of you, whatever works.
Great, thank you very much. All right, board, any other questions for our guests? Okay,
Thank you so
sounds
much.
good. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time,
you.
appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Hillman, we have one more to go.
We take like a 1-minute break?
I suppose we can take a one. I'm just kidding. Oh, we're 10 minutes ahead of schedule. You can actually have 2 minutes. You can have 2 minutes.
Can I take this?
Sitting here drinking water. That's right.
Alrighty, and we are back. So Dr. Hillman, would you like to introduce our next group here?
Yes, I'd like to introduce to our podium the Educational Leadership Services Group that are going to be sharing with us, and I'm sure you'll all introduce yourselves.
Thank you very much, and good evening, President Finley and members of the board, and Dr. Hillman, district staff, and members of the community. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and share who we are and how we can support you in your search for a new superintendent for Duarte Unified School District. We are the three that you will work with if you are selecting Education Leadership Services, and so we are all here tonight and would like to give you a chance to meet each one of us. So I'll start with Catherine Therosian.
Good evening. It's nice to be in the neighborhood again. I had the privilege of serving as the superintendent in Monrovia until just a few years ago, and had the opportunity to witness the incredible change in direction and bold decisions that Duarte made in order to really take some of our students. So thank you for they were good decisions. But it has been interesting to witness the growth and the changes in Duarte, and it would be nice to be able to work here to place somebody who we believe will lead the students of Duarte through the next few years. And with that, I'll pass it along to Dr. John Garcia.
Thank you, Dr. Rosen. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Garcia. I am currently, for 8 more days, the superintendent of Downey Unified School District. I'm retiring July 31st, and so very honored to be here this evening to share with you. Actually, we just recently went through this process in my very own district to find my successor, and so I look forward to the opportunity to potentially serve all of you. I've been in education for 33 years, about the last 12 and a half as the superintendent of Downey Unified School District. So thank you for having us this evening.
And I'm Rob Vores, and for 2010 to 2020, I was a superintendent in Glendora Unified School District just down the road. Have a lot of connections in Duarte. I had been a teacher and coach in Temple City when we were part of the Rio Hondo League with Duarte. Had a lot of interactions with your previous superintendents prior to Dr. Hillman, and really looking forward to getting a chance to potentially work with Duarte in this search. With our extensive state and national contacts, our team of over 20 educators have a wide network of potential candidates to fit the need for Duarte Unified School Districts and the community of Duarte. We're extremely well connected throughout the educational community in California, and when you select ELS, you get the whole team. Even though you work closely with the 3 of us, our entire team helps in the process. You can see some of the associations that our members have not only been participants in, but presidents of, and continue to support. And these organizations all provide us with contacts and connections. AXA, AASA, SSDA, the Small Schools Division, all of them help support us, and all of our members are current members within them. 2 of our team members also lead the Superintendent's Academy for AXA, where all the new and upcoming rising stars, superintendents of the future, are taking Friday and Saturday courses. And they do that every 4 to 6 weeks throughout the entire year, and that's where a lot of the new superintendents come from. And 2 of our members run those programs. Several factors make ELS different. Clear understanding of today's educational landscape, because our team members are currently in the field, as John just mentioned, or they're recently retired. Networked and connected in the San Gabriel Valley and throughout California. We have current experienced team members who have recently lived or are currently in the superintendent role. And collectively, we have over 700 years of educational leadership experience. We also have higher education connections, specifically through the Claremont Graduate University and the University of Southern California. We will lead a search tailored to the needs of Duarte and your community, and we know that we work for the board, not the individuals who are aspiring to be superintendents. We don't bring a list of those who weren't selected to other districts, and we don't feel we have any obligations to those who work with us. We don't have a stable of potential superintendents like some firms do. So Duarte is a unique district, as evidenced by its diversity of offerings to its community and its students, and we want to help you find your next leader.
I'm going to walk you through the search process, and you will note many similarities between all the firms because there are 3 discrete sections of the search. The recruitment, there's the engagement, and then there's the selection. So let's start with our engagement process, and that really is when we engage not just the board, but the larger community getting input into the qualities of your next superintendent. These are in-person sessions as well as through surveys, and our goal is to get many individuals involved so that their voices are heard. But we begin with an engagement session with the board, individually as well as collectively, in order to ensure that we have a common understanding of our cadence of communication throughout the process and are available for any questions that you might have throughout the process. We also will work with you to develop a timeline. We've provided one, but it really is something that's flexible and something with which you need to have some input, to have some tight guidelines and parameters in terms of the process. In terms of all of the information that we receive through the input sessions, we will bring them all together and summarize them and develop a leadership profile, superintendent leadership profile, to identify the perfect person for the job. And while we know that the perfect person must exist for Duarte, we also know that there are some qualities that Duarte will be looking for in their next leader. We want to make sure that it's a match through the profile, and that profile becomes public so that we would communicate with potential candidates to make sure that their strengths match the needs of this district, because everybody wants your next superintendent to be successful. So that is information that is pulled together into a package that is also distributed so that everybody sees and hears that their voices have been heard through those engagement sessions. Next section is the recruitment, and then following that is the selection. So Dr. Vors mentioned our extensive network. We will not just advertise, we will also call people who we think might be a match. Again, that leadership profile will help us identify in terms of the strengths that you are looking for in your next leader. We will also do some thorough reference checking. A large network means that we know people who know people. So we won't just be calling those who are listed as references, but those who we know have worked with the candidates in order to identify the very best for the district. They may be great candidates, but they may not be right for Duarte. And so we want to make sure that we call everyone we know to make sure that we are getting exactly who you need. Following the reference checking, we will go through the selection phase, and based upon all of that information and using that leadership profile as a touchstone, we'll identify the best candidates and present them to the board. Now, the board will also have access to every applicant, and all of the information from every candidate. You'll be able to go through and in a very confidential session, be able to ask questions about why this person may or may not have made it onto the list. And that's where we provide you with some candid, off-the-record conversations that we've had with our colleagues and make sure that you have the background. The list of interviewees is the list that the board develops. We will come in with our recommendations, but at the end of the day, it will be the board identifying the candidates, in not just who, but the number of candidates to be interviewed. And the interview process, while I know that you've been through this a couple of times, and I know that it's difficult, but we will work through the process with you and prepare you with just some sample questions as well as some worksheets so that the many various candidates stand out in their own section so that you can refer back and identify perhaps questions or follow-up queries. And we will help, again, with the not just setting up the interviews, but the debriefing and process so that you make the very best decision. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the support and the mentoring as well. We want to make sure to provide your team, those who are currently on staff, with the support they need. We will be working, you have an excellent executive assistant who already has a very full plate. Our role will be to help facilitate some of the burden, take some of the burden off, and prepare some information so that you can work through that. There are things that will be posted on your website. We will help prepare those. We will help prepare whatever we can so that we're lifting the burden from your current staff and making sure that we have all the engagement and every information is properly disseminated. Finally, we are committed to making sure that your next superintendent is successful, which means we won't leave once that person is selected. We're going to stick around and mentor the next superintendent for the next year. We want to make sure to provide the support. Being superintendent is a difficult job, and even if you've done it before, having some support and a critical friend and with some guidance about how to handle certain situations is always helpful. So we'll be providing some mentoring and coaching for the year following in order to assist with that transition and to help the next superintendent succeed.
Thank you, Kathy. So let's talk a little bit about timeline. Just kind of backward mapping from October where the finalist is announced. Interviews obviously will take place prior to then, but really the process will start ASAP. Once ELS is selected, the three of us will hit the ground running and start the recruitment phase, start the information sessions to look at the characteristics to create that profile that Dr. Tarosian talked about. We'll go into September, obviously, is the paper screening, reference and background checks, again, which are very extensive. And it's not just what people put on the application. It's this is where our networks come into play and the people that we know, because you want to get that back channel information as well based on folks who are maybe not on the paperwork, but we know somebody who knows somebody, that we can get kind of the real understanding of what this candidate is truly bringing to the table. And then obviously the interviews at some point in October and subsequently the finalists announced. There's a question mark by the date because obviously that's up to the Board of Education, and then depending on the candidate, there's obviously the timing with their releasing district, et cetera, et cetera. So again, without having any firm knowledge and understanding, they've got a little bit of a question mark, but right around December-ish is what we're projecting. And then moving forward, it's all one inclusive fee. Everything Dr. Tarosian talked about, $25 or $25,000 Don't quote me on that $25, please. But $25,000 to conduct the search.
It's recorded.
And then the subsequent coaching and mentoring for the first year as well. And again, we're very committed to enhancing the leadership of Duarte Unified School District to be the best it can be for every student by having the best possible leader in place to succeed Dr. Hellman. So thank you so much for your attention this evening. I know it's been a long one. I know we're the last ones, and you are all still, none of you are nodding off, which I truly, truly appreciate, but thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you this evening, and we're happy to take any questions that you might have.
All right, board. With that, we'll open it up to some questions and comments.
So there's a board member who's not here, and she was concerned about this time of year. And is there ever a bad time of year to look for a superintendent?
In my opinion, and I'll invite Dr. Vores and Dr. Tarosian, I think when you're looking at superintendent positions, I think the key is the notification piece, that generally it's either a sitting superintendent, which again talks about that question mark in the release time, or an assistant superintendent who is ascending to the superintendent job, in which case it always becomes a negotiation about how soon can we get that person out of their current district. And so it's kind of an ongoing thing. I don't know that there's a good time. I don't know that there's a bad time. There just is the time, and it really depends on that person's situation and where they are in the district and how soon we can move them out of there, or we can get them out of there and into Duarte. Does that answer your question, Mr. Reyes?
Somewhat.
Okay.
What the other question is,
Yeah.
you know, she was kind of negative on that we weren't going to get a good pool of candidates. And I was saying we are going to get a good pool of candidates.
Yeah.
It's not a bad time.
Yeah.
You know, someone's always looking to move up.
I would agree
move
with that.
out. So,
Yeah. I would
your
agree with that.
opinion?
Yeah, my personal opinion is I interviewed for my position in Downey in January. That's when I interviewed. February, I was appointed by the board. It took about 6 weeks, and I started in April. And so again, I don't know that there's a good time. I don't think it's a bad time, I guess would be a better answer to your question. And again, it's kind of a year-round cycle when you're looking at superintendent positions. So I think we'll get good candidates. I think we'll get outstanding candidates, quite frankly.
Thank you.
Board, other questions?
Why should we choose your firm?
You know, it's interesting, in the room back there, we know all of those folks, and they're colleagues of ours. We've worked together in the same districts or worked in neighboring districts, and so truly we all know each other. Some of those folks have been doing it a very long time, as I'm sure they told you. I know one of them, when I was looking for a superintendency back in 2010, it's one of the people that I met with, and he's been doing searches since 2002. So if those folks are good, but they don't have the same connections. We're kind of the new kids on the block, and I'll tell you what, we're hungry. We know a lot of folks. Like you just met John Garcia, brand new. John knows quite a few people in Southern California. We have a network throughout California. We have USC folks that are teaching in the doctoral program that are meeting all these superintendents and assistant superintendents coming up. We have folks that are running the superintendents academies. And so we are the hungry younger group that's trying to make a name for ourselves and have done some searches already. We've done Moreno Valley, which is almost 30,000 students. We've done smaller districts. We did San Ynez Valley Union High School District, which sounds huge, but it's 800 students. And we've done charter schools. We did Sage Oak Charter School, which is about 5,000 students. And all of our folks that we've worked with are extremely happy with us. We've got a long list of references, and we haven't had a negative experience yet. We've been very, very well received by the boards, and so we're batting 100%. That's why you should choose us.
Thank you so much.
I guess I'll put out a couple of questions. So you mentioned kind of being the new kids on the block, which I think there's a lot to be said for, having fresh ideas and everything. In terms of, I guess, do you have any data on the longevity of superintendents that you have placed in the past?
We're a firm that was established in 2022, and 100% of the superintendents who we placed are still in place. Moving backward, though, we do have members who conducted searches prior to the establishment of ELS. And our success rate there with those individuals is also in the high 90s.
Okay, great. So I'm sure you're familiar with something that I was not familiar with until a couple of years ago, the Peter principle, in which people ascend to the level of their incompetency. So how do you select against that when you are identifying candidates?
I think the issue is one of the things that I shared about. It's really digging deep into backgrounds, because one of the things that we know generally, along with the Peter Principle, is that the best predictor of future success is prior success. And even folks, if they are not a sitting superintendent, if they have been highly successful in their assistant superintendent role, in their principal role, in their director role, whatever it was, if they have been successful in the past, then obviously that becomes the best predictor. The way you get to truly understanding the essence of someone and their levels of success is by not just looking at the things on their paper. Certainly work history and trajectory, the jobs they've had along the journey play a big part in that. If they've got a nice progression in their jobs, if they spent a good amount of time in their jobs and then they've ascended to the next role, all those are good indicators. But really, it's getting to the folks around them who are not on their paperwork, who will really kind of give you the real skinny, if you will, off, just kind of on the back channel. And that's really, I think, where the rubber meets the road, is getting to people who we know, or people that we know who know someone who can refer us to somebody who's worked closely with this person and can give us the real understanding of what this person is all about. Because we all know anybody can put anybody on they can put a reference on a piece of paper, and they're going to talk positively, or they can turn in letters of reference and they're going to be glowing letters of reference. But that's not really where the rubber meets the road. It's getting to people who are not on those, who work with them in this district, or maybe their prior district, right? What do you know about them? And I think that is the way that you really filter out what someone really represents, and what their true potential is, especially in something being as demanding and as sensitive as a superintendent role.
Okay, great. And I think my last, well, I have two questions remaining. So number one, do you anticipate, or will you have simultaneous searches going on while this one is happening, or what's sort of your workload?
While ELS will have other searches going on, the three of us will not.
Okay, great. And then my last question was about the reaching out to stakeholders in our community and making sure that their thoughts about a new superintendent are shared. How do you do that? How do you find that serves, I guess, us as the board and as we're making a decision? You're the winner.
Thank you. It's nice to have a sweeper in the back.
There we go.
So we begin with inviting specific focus groups in for smaller group input sessions. And that outreach will help with the larger community sessions that would be publicized throughout the community. And people will have already heard about those smaller input sessions and will ask, wait, I want to give them a piece of my mind too and tell them my thoughts about the next superintendent. Well, there's an opportunity for everybody. There will be not just those individual sessions with each board member, but also sessions with cabinet members, current, with your foundation, with the PTA. Really, in those initial sessions with the board, we'll be identifying a list of stakeholders with whom you would like for us to connect so that we make that initial outreach for those smaller focus group sessions, and then send out widely, inviting all of your community to come for the general input session, and those would be in person. We'd have 2 of those community sessions, inviting parents, students, sister organizations, partners in the community to join us.
Sorry. And when you do get that feedback from stakeholders, how is that then presented to the board?
All of that input connected with the survey information. And by the way, the survey would be publicized throughout as well. So if you can't make it to one of the community sessions and haven't been invited specifically to an input session, you can still provide your input with the survey. All of that information is really kind of triangulated and presented to the board in a superintendent profile report. And that report is the one that I referenced, saying that not only would you read it, but it would also be posted on the website and shared with candidates so that they can really check to see if they meet some of this criteria.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, any other questions from the board before we wrap this session up? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for your time and your presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, let me scroll to the top here. So I think that now concludes our interview portion of our meeting. So now we'll be, I guess, moving on to item number 7, which is the selection of the executive search firm for our superintendent search. Board, I guess we have to have a motion to start a discussion on this. So I guess historically, is the motion usually, okay, so we don't have to have a, gotcha. Okay. All right, sounds good. Well, thank you very much for that input. So, board, we are now free to discuss. I know there's a lot to digest. If you want to go through your notes for a second and look over things, that's totally fine. But if you have any comments or things that you'd like to make as we begin this discussion.
Well, I personally would love to save us some money.
All right.
So, I'm going for the least expensive one, which is McPherson and Jacobson.
Okay. All right. I don't think any of us would disagree with saving money. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? And I mean, I'll be more than happy to share my comments while you guys are kind of gathering things. And I do agree with Mr. Reyes about the importance of saving money, especially in a district the size of ours. And while there, I think that is really important. I personally also very much enjoyed the McPherson-Jacobson presentation. In particular, I liked the video interviews that would be part of the process, before we had like an in-person interview, to get a chance to see the candidates, to hear what their thoughts are in sort of a less formal environment. So I thought that was kind of an interesting approach to doing that. Additionally, with Mr. Johnson being a board member, I thought that was special. So, yeah, I agree with that. So, for other comments?
Yeah, I would just second, the video interviews I think would be really helpful just to start getting a sense of how these people present themselves, not just on paper, but on screen as well. The fact that the board member experience definitely is helpful. The only concern I have is the 60-day adjoin flying of the position. And I know we don't want to rush it, but I also feel that the right person is going to be there in 30 days or 60 days. And so, you know, what connections, what networking is out there so that we're not spending 2 months just trying to find, you know, that initial slate.
But we can make that decision.
Okay.
We
Yeah,
can,
so
we can
that,
cut it
I mean,
down.
that would be my only concern.
We can make it 45 days.
Yeah.
It's up to us.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think that I think we all agree that this is an extremely critical role in our district to have a superintendent, and I think we would like to get one in here as soon as possible because, you know, I've worked with a couple of superintendents now, and they're very, very critical individuals, and so it would be nice to have that seat filled sooner than later. I would agree with that.
I'm next.
You can be next or not next or whatever.
I agree as well. I had my top three, and they were my number one. And I like the board member perspective of what he was talking about, and I think that's really important to have somebody who gets what we have to go through as well. So.
Yeah, I think that's valuable. And I will say this. I'm looking at all of the candidates out here in the audience, and I suddenly am having a very large amount of respect for what was the show where they give out the rose? You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, whatever. I don't know what it is. It's well, I'm married, so I have seen a show or two of that. But anyway, it is. I always thought to myself, I thought, wow, you know, man, what is that? You know, the camera would always zoom in on the one and then on the other, and the look on their face. And so with all that in mind, I do just feel like I want to say I thoroughly enjoyed all of the presentations. I was, I'll just say I was, in my day job, I do prepare and endure a lot of PowerPoint presentations. And I was prepared to, you know, go through death by PowerPoint for a couple of hours here. But I really did not experience that at all tonight, which I think is a testament to the presentation that all of you gave to the board up here. And so thank you very much for what you prepared, for what you put together, because it was very engaging. It was great for me as a relatively new board member who's never gone through this process before to see, I mean, what that was like. I found a lot of comfort in seeing the similarities between the presentations, because to me that sort of signified that, hey, there's sort of a known pathway for doing this. This isn't, this isn't something where one firm has something totally different than somebody else. Everyone's got their own little flair to it and everything. But I really did feel that there was a great amount of preparation that went into this. And I will say for the community that may be watching this online, we didn't give you guys a whole lot of time to prepare this. I mean, I think the letter went out, was it beginning of last week or something like that? Yeah, so it was, I mean, this was a very, very tight turnaround. And I was really impressed with what everybody came up with. It was very excellent, and so I do want to say thank you as we are getting into this selection process. So thank you very much. I want to make sure I said that. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Quick one, again, thank you so much. I know how hard it is, and it's, you know, everybody was somewhat similar, but yet different. And yes, it is a very difficult decision, and it's like, what do we do? I mean, we want you all, but thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so then if there's no more discussion, then do I then entertain a motion? Okay. Okay, so I guess based on our discussion, I'll make a motion then that we select the McPherson and Jacobson group for our superintendent search. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so motion by me, James Finley, and then a second by Board Member Holguin. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that then passes 4-0. So, yes, I do have that. So let me move over to that. So with that done, we can now move on to the adjournment of this meeting, and we are adjourning in memory of, I believe it's Dr. Akanusi's nephew. Excuse me. So this is Emmanuel Anaya Ugo, I believe. Anaya Ogu, who passed away at a young age, if I'm not mistaken. So our thoughts and prayers are with Dr. Akanusi and her family. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
the
moved.
meeting?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Reyes, second by Ms. Holguin. Is there any discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.